In the beginning of the movie, we see Surgeon Bob Lee Swagger and his partner Donnie Fenn, who were waiting for the enemy to come in ambush on a mountain in Ethiopia. Meanwhile, they receive news from their U.S. military base camp in Ethiopia that enemy vehicles are going to pass by their side soon. The next moment, Donnie tells the wind speed, distance to the target, etc. Keeping this in mind, Bob Lee kills those two terrorists with a headshot. But suddenly, a lot of vehicles of terrorists arrive on that road, about which even the officers of his department were not aware. They call back all their soldiers from there, but they leave Donnie and Bob Lee out there to die. Actually, the work that the department officers were getting done by Donnie and Bob Lee was completely illegal. While Donnie and Bob Lee thought that they were doing all this for the peace of their country, on the other hand, the terrorists, seeing the fate of their comrade, were indiscriminately firing bombs all around because he doesn't know who killed his comrades and where. Donnie sees so many terrorists and tries to contact his base, but the radio of the base had been switched off. Both of them had understood that they had been left here to die, so they have to leave their place on their own. When the helicopter starts firing on them, in which Donnie is killed, Bob Lee is deeply saddened by his friend's death, and he somehow shoots the helicopter's rotor and brings it down. 3 years after this incident, Bob Lee had completely changed. He left the department and is living a peaceful life in the forest with his dog Sam. On the other hand, Colonel Isaac Johnson was looking for a shooter for his intelligence mission, in which Bob Lee's name was at the top. Now, the colonel needs such a person who can complete his mission. On the other hand, Bob Lee was sitting at his house with Sam when the colonel arrives there with his men. Bob Lee refuses to do any of his work without talking to him. To force him, Jack planned to shoot his dog Sam, but Bob Lee had sensed his intention, and he warns him that if you make the mistake of shooting my dog even by mistake, I will knock you down. The colonel knew how Bob Lee would finally agree. The colonel shows him his bravery medal, which he got for saving some soldiers in the war. Bob Lee was also a patriot, due to which he also respected the patriots. Hence, he now agrees to listen to the colonel. The colonel tells that the president is going to be assassinated 2 weeks from today. According to our intelligence sources, it has been revealed that when the president will go to give a speech among the people in Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C., a plan has been made to kill him there by a shooter. The next day, he takes out his rifle and keeps the cane at a distance of 1 mile and aims at it so that he can understand whether it is possible to kill someone from a distance of 1 mile. But the aim was absolutely on point, which means the president could have been killed even from a distance. He immediately takes his light weapon and goes to the 3 places where the president was about to give a speech. He goes to Baltimore, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C., and he checks these places very well. According to him, the best place for sniping among these 3 places was in Washington, D.C. Bob Lee shares this information with the colonel and leaves. Soon, the day came when the president was going to give a speech in Washington, D.C. The colonel has 6 teams stationed at different positions. Apart from this, the FBI was stationed at every street intersection, and Bob Lee was also keeping an eye on everything around him. On the other side of the stage, a famous Ethiopian pastor was about to give a speech, and the president was also present next to him. Then the wind started blowing slowly. This was the perfect opportunity for the sniper. Bob Lee says to catch that sniper red-handed because he is about to shoot. But then an FBI officer shoots Bob Lee. The sniper had already killed the president. Bob Lee somehow escapes through the window. As soon as the sniper escapes, Bob Lee's rifle is replaced in his place, and very cleverly he is accused of killing the president. Now, Bob Lee had escaped, so the colonel is very uneasy because it was he who hatched the entire conspiracy to kill the president, and his witness is Bob Lee. And if he survives, then everything will go wrong. On the other hand, we see Bob Lee who runs away with an FBI officer's gun in his car. He parks the car at a place and then somehow stops the blood coming out of his body. On the other hand, the FBI was searching for him all around like dogs. As soon as he came out, the police again went after him. Now there was no way for him to escape, so he took the car in reverse gear and jumped into the lake and escaped from there without being noticed by anyone. While the police kept searching for him, here Bob Lee steals another car and comes to a store because he needed drugs for his treatment. But there he was being talked about in the TV news. So instead of going directly, he first found an aluminum pipe from the garbage and short-circuited the electricity, due to which the store went dark. Afterward, he buys all the necessary items for himself and then comes to a secluded place for his temporary treatment. The next morning, he goes to his friend Donnie's house, who was martyred while fighting on a mission 3 years ago. He goes to his wife Sarah for help, but she does not want to help even after recognizing him. Bob Lee tells her that he did not kill the president, but he is being framed. Sarah is very surprised by this because the president was not killed that day, but a famous Ethiopian pastor was shot that day. Sarah lets him in, and Bob Lee gives her a list of items that need to be brought from different shops. On the other hand, we see an FBI agent named Nick. Nick is the same agent whose gun and car Bob Lee ran away with that day. He is being interrogated. Nick tells that before snatching the gun, he had said that he did not shoot the president. Senior officers have a hand in this. On the other hand, after bringing the medicines, Sarah makes Bob Lee unconscious and operates on him. During this time, both of them had come very close to each other. Nick, on the other hand, stayed up all night trying to figure out how Bob Lee missed shooting the president while there was a distance of only 2.5 feet between the president and the Ethiopian pastor. He could not digest this fact, so he started investigating alone to know the inside story. Bob Lee has also recovered. He seeks Sarah's help to find out the colonel's location. When he had his first meeting with the colonel, he had taken a photo of the number plate of the car on the pretext of seeing the heavy engine of the car. So he sends the number of that car to Nick from Sarah's hand. Sarah gives him the number of the car and tells him that the owner of this car has conspired to murder the Ethiopian pastor. After telling everything, she quickly leaves from there. Here, Bob Lee is recognized by the FBI, and they attack him. However, he manages to kill them all within a few seconds and leaves from there. On the other hand, when Nick reaches his office, he checks the number but does not get much information. Then he takes the help of his fellow agent Gindo, but Gindo warns him, telling him that everyone knows that you have been secretly gathering information about the president's case, and if this continues, you could be in trouble. Meanwhile, the colonel also learns that an FBI agent named Nick is interfering in his work. So the next day, the colonel's men take him away and plan his death as if Nick had shot himself with his own pistol. Nick is about to shoot himself when Bob Lee arrives just in time, and he kills them one by one and saves Nick. His gun was fitted with a plastic bottle instead of a silencer. After Nick survives, he tells Bob Lee that he can contact the Bureau to prove that he did not kill the Ethiopian priest. But instead of proving his innocence, Bob Lee wanted to selectively kill the colonel's people because they had killed his dog Sam. So now he will kill them all. Now Nick also agreed to support Bob Lee because his life was also in danger. On the other hand, the colonel had also come to know that his men could not kill the FBI agent who he was about to kill because someone killed them first. All three of them were killed with a 22-point rifle, that too from a distance of 200 yards. The surprising thing was that the range of the 22 rifle is only 200 meters. Here, these people guess that it may or may not be that Bob Lee has killed those people and he is still alive. Then comes Dobler, who had Bob Lee's financial information, in which Bob Lee, from his Visa card every year, used to send flowers to the wife of his martyred friend Dunny. Meanwhile, Bob Lee and Nick go to meet the best gunsmith in the area. Bob Lee asks him if there is a sniper who can hit a 2,200-yard cold shot. Hearing this, the artisan tells that recently such a shot was made. The name of that sniper is Bob Lee. Actually, the artisan did not know that Bob Lee was sitting in front of him. Bob Lee asks if there is another shooter. The artisan tells there is one shooter in Russia, but he is in jail. Another was in France, but he is dead. But there is also a third who is very dangerous because he used to kill 4 people instead of 1. Hence, he made many enemies, and they found his hideout. They attacked his hideout. He survived that attack, but became disabled. When the artisan shows his photo, Bob Lee remembers that that day, the shooter was with the colonel the whole time. Here, Bob Lee gets confirmed that the same disabled shooter has killed the Ethiopian pastor, and if he is caught, he will know the reason behind the pastor's murder. After leaving here, Nick gets all the information about the shooter Michael Shander from Jindo. On the other hand, the colonel tells the senator that Bob Lee is still alive. Actually, the colonel was the senator's pawn, and he was doing all this at the senator's behest. Now, the colonel had realized that Bob Lee would be looking for the shooter to reach his target, so he was going to use Michael as bait to trap him. On the other hand, Sarah was changing clothes for sleeping when she heard the sound of someone being in the house. The next moment, she shoots one with a shotgun, but Jack catches her. On the other hand, Agent Gindo had got Michael's location. He was in Virginia. Both of them reached the location given by Agent Gindo. Bob Lee sees this place and senses that it could be a trap. Yet he starts making full preparations for the attack by purchasing all the material for making bombs, etc. from the hardware. He prepares all the bombs in a deserted place. It is here that he also gives sniping training to Nick. On the other hand, Jack was torturing Sarah badly to know the location of Bob Lee, but she doesn't tell anything. These two snipers had raided to catch Michael. Bob Lee was laying bottle bombs in that area while Nick was talking about the location of the enemies from a distance. Bob Lee also saw the sniper Michael. He killed each one and reached him. His first question was, what is Colonel Johnson's real name? And who does he work for? And why did he kill that Ethiopian pastor? Michael tells Johnson is an ex-army officer. He held the rank of colonel in the army. After retirement, he started working for Senator, whose oil pipeline work was going on in Ethiopia. But the villagers there did not want to vacate their houses and land. So Johnson killed and buried all 400 people of the village. Bob Lee was also on the same mission in Ethiopia. He was killing the same people who were rebelling against laying oil pipes in their villages. This work was illegal. So Bob Lee and Donnie were also left to die that day. In a speech that day, the Ethiopian pastor was going to tell everyone how his entire village was killed by Johnson. But before the priest could tell the truth to the people, he was shot. Then they realized that they are being surrounded from all sides. Michael tells them that his girlfriend has also been kidnapped. The next moment, he starts shooting himself. While a fierce fight takes place between the soldiers, Bob Lee tackles everyone and calls the FBI so that the colonel can track them down and contact them. The next moment, the colonel calls. Bob Lee plays the murder tape of 400 people because he had recorded Michael's words. After listening to everything, Johnson fixes a deal to release his girlfriend in exchange for the tape. They take Sarah to a snowy mountain and go to meet her. As soon as these people see Bob Lee coming from the front, they shoot him with their sniper. Actually, the colonel had already deployed many snipers on the top of the mountain. Then the next bullet is fired, and that sniper is killed. The one who shot that sniper was none other than Bob Lee, and the one who was shot by Johnson's sniper was Nick, who was wearing an iron plate. Bob Lee takes down all the shooters one by one before he can kill both of them. Sarah makes a mistake. She kills Jack. Meanwhile, the FBI had also reached here. Bob Lee burns the tape because through that tape, along with both of them, Nick and Sarah were also going to be trapped. The senator, Nick, the colonel, and Sarah all survive, while Bob Lee is captured and taken away. The next day, he is presented before the Attorney General where he gives a demonstration and explains why he did not shoot the Ethiopian priest. Because whenever he goes out, he changes the firing pin of his gun so that even if someone shoots from his gun, it will not fire. That is, his gun was kept at the place of the incident to trap him. Nick shows the Attorney General the picture of the murder of 400 people committed in Ethiopia. But still, nothing happens to the colonel because he committed the crime in Ethiopia. That's why the government here cannot punish him, and the colonel leads from here laughing. After acquitting Attorney General, Bob Lee says that now he is free, and if he wants, he can punish him in his own way. At night, the senator and the colonel were celebrating their victory when Bob Lee shoots the colonel and all the people who were with the senator. He kills all of them and destroys all the evidence, and finally he decides to spend his future life with Sarah.